Hi, this is my property behind me. I have 2 ponds, I have a little cabin, I have a farmhouse on 4.5 acres, and I grew up about 1,000 feet from right here. And my property, in fact, adjoins where I grew up. How many people can say that? I think a lot of people grow up and think I want to move away, and maybe I did at one time too, but then I realized at one point there's no better place than right here. In the name of being frugal, there are so many things that people are doing nowadays to try to cut costs and save money. And I grew up very frugally, and in some ways I grew up pretty poor. My parents were born in 29 and 31, so they grew up in the Depression. They grew up where there was not indoor plumbing. They grew up where they had to heat water to take a bath, to wash dishes, and they had to scrub clothes on a washboard. And so many of their frugal traits were used during my childhood as well. And now I sit back and I look at some of these things and I see how society is trying to go back to a few of these things in the name of being frugal. Frugal now is a really great thing to be, a way to save money, a way to cut costs, a way to make your life better in so many ways and not so materialistic. Let me tell you about some of the things and some of the ways that I grew up. I grew up where we had bath night, and I got to use the water first because I was the smallest and the least dirty. Then my mom, then my dad, because he was the most dirty and he was on the farm all day. So we didn't have a hamper. We threw all of our clothes down in front of the washing machine, and when the pile got big enough, my mom would do the laundry at night after I went to bed. And if you think about it nowadays, that's how we are saving money, is if we use it around peak hours. If we use the washer and the electricity around peak hours, we save money doing that. I didn't have new school clothes, and sometimes I got made fun of for that. But we had neighbors who would share their special things with me, who had a daughter a little bit older than I was. And I couldn't wait to get that paper sack with dresses that had frills and lace, things that we would have never bought for me at home. And so I was so excited to get that. And sometimes we share our clothes child to child nowadays, but we don't always share it neighbor to neighbor like we did back then. There wasn't secondhand shops. At least I didn't know of any. And we didn't have cable TV. I was the remote control. And we had 4 channels if the weather was right and the signal was right. We had 10, 12, 3, sometimes 8. And 8 was where Sesame Street was at. One day we got channel 24, and that was the best day ever when we had another channel added to our TV. But my parents didn't get TV until it was 1957. That's when they got their first television. We got our microwave in the late 70s. We got our telephone in the late 70s. When I got sick at school, I had to go to the office and use the bus barn CB radio to call my parents to come get me, because Dad kept a CB radio in the farm truck, on the tractor, and in the house. And I still remember my call letters, K&H 0835, and that's what I used if I needed to call for help. We didn't have bottled water or soda, and my mom used powdered milk to cook with. We only had the dairy milk from the dairy farm if we were going to drink it. We didn't use laundry detergent in pods or in liquid. We used powder, and we hung our clothes on the line. We didn't have candles for power outages. We used the kerosene lanterns that my parents still had and still used faithfully. We didn't have whisks. We didn't have stand-up mixers. We didn't have electric can openers. We used the good old-fashioned wooden spoon and the good old-fashioned can opener. We didn't have air fresheners, just Lysol. And we didn't have all the things cluttering up our countertops that people are now trying to figure out how to declutter. We didn't have crock pots, toaster ovens, air fryers, Instapots. We didn't even have a coffee pot. My dad would drink instant coffee, but he drank instant coffee and instant tea. We reused wrapping paper for Christmas, and we reused tin foil or aluminum foil, as they call it now, in the kitchen. We didn't have an air conditioner. We used fans, and once I fell asleep at night, my mom would come shut off the fan. We didn't have a dishwasher. We didn't use baggies. We used containers, which people have gone back to today. We didn't have food processors. We had an old-fashioned hand grinder that hooked to the side of the table, and you put a pan underneath it for the drippings and another pan under it on the other side to catch the items that you were grinding. And we didn't have ceiling fans. But I did have funny papers on Sunday, and that was the best. Mr. Risley would come driving in my yard because he took the Sunday paper, and I couldn't wait to watch for his blue truck bringing me the funny papers. Things were so much more simple. And isn't that how we want our life to be nowadays? Is more simple, less stress, less stuff, more family time, more peace. That's what we strive for when we say frugal. That's what we strive for when we're decluttering. And yes, all of these things isn't necessarily things that you might want to go back to in your life, but behind me is my ponds. Over here to the side is my cabin. I'm on 4.5 acres, and I am at peace, and I love it here. And when I walk out of my house, it seems like all of my problems are man-made and that nothing else matters, because this, getting you in touch with nature and being here listening to the outdoor noises, this to me is what life is all about. This is enjoying your life. I couldn't take the city. I couldn't take all the hustle and bustle and pavement. I need a little cows in my life. So good luck to you in your decluttering. Good luck to you in being frugal. And please follow me for more tips on how to be frugal.